Krishna, welcome all of you to our weekly recap session. We are reading Bhagavad Gita, and thank you for your enthusiastic participation. So, today we will be discussing chapter 1. And last few weeks we did preface and setting the scene and introduction portion. And today we will enter into chapter 1. Chapter 1 is titled as Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra. This is also called Arjuna Vishada Yoga or Sanya Nirikshana Yoga. Srila Prabhupada has titled it Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra, Sanya Nirikshana Yoga. Bhagavad Gita, as it is translated by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Let us offer our obeisances to him. He is the founder Acharya of ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Based upon his teachings, we are discussing this Bhagavad Gita as it is. Let us begin with the Mangalacharan. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanasalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Uttapada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavamsha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakhanvitam Sha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Brisavanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaisnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The meaning of this wonderful Mangalacharan we had discussed in earlier videos, so I am not going into detail of this meaning, but in short, by Mangalacharan we are invoking auspiciousness. We offer our obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and the Guru Parampara and 6 prominent Goswamis in this Parampara and Panchatattva Sriman Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates, and then to Sri Sri Radha and Krishna, who are our object of worship. And then we also offer our prayer to Vaishnavas, who are the ocean of mercy. According to Srila Prabhupada, Bhagavad Gita is the most practical book. What does it mean? If someone will study very scrutinizingly, in and out, thoroughly, then he will get enough inspirations, direction, and instructions how to apply these meanings to live a wonderful life. Bhagavad Gita is life's manual. This wonderful creation is created by the Supreme Lord Krishna. And how come any creator creates something and will not give any instruction manual? This is not possible. After creating this, he ensures that Bhagavad Gita is readily available with all the mankind, which gives the instructions to all the living entities how to lead a healthy, wonderful, and cherishable life, how to make a living in this world. So this Bhagavad Gita will help to govern our all external activities. And how one should understand Bhagavad Gita? One should understand and one should be very observant how the philosophy is flowing through, how it is developing. And he should try to understand the entire Bhagavad Gita as a cohesive unit. He should not pick one verse and try to interpret the meaning which is diversing the most prominent theme of Bhagavad Gita. No, this is not recommended. We have to see the entire verses as a cohesive unit. They should fit together. Bhagavad Gita is compared to a jewel box. I will show it in a moment. So the first 6th chapter is called the lower covering of the box, and the middle 6th chapter are the essential jewel which is inside, and the last 6th chapter are the top lid of the box. This is how the 18 chapters are consisted. Bhagavad Gita consisting of 700 verses in 18 chapters, out of which Dhritarashtra has spoken 1 verse, Sanjay has spoken 41 verse, Arjuna has spoken 84, and Krishna has spoken most of the verses, 574 verses. So like in a jewel box, the important thing is the jewel. The cover is not so important. The cover, there is a value to the jewel box if the jewel is inside. If you take the jewel out, then jewel box by itself has no meaning. Generally, when we go to a jewelry shop, we buy a good ornament and we keep the ornament in a beautiful box. The box is beautiful. As long as the jewel is inside, the ornament is inside, it has tremendous value. And if you diverse, if you take the jewel out, then the box itself has no meaning. It doesn't matter how beautiful the box may be. Similarly, the middle 6th chapter are the essential teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. So the entire 18th chapter has to be seen as a coherent unit and has to be interpreted as the flow progresses in cohesion with middle 6th chapter. The first 6 chapters are called Karma Yoga. Here Krishna speaks how we should work in this material world. We will learn to work. Then the middle 6th chapter is talking about the divine, his characteristics, his nature, his appeal, more about himself, the personality. So this talks of how, means in this 7 to 12 chapter, we will know about Krishna. we will know about Krishna. Then by reading this chapter 7 to 12, how we will learn to work for Krishna. And then the last chapter 13 to 18, they are talking about the material world, the knowledge section, the Jnana section, Jnana Yoga. So we will get to know more about this material world. So that means after reading the entire 18 chapters, we will be able to learn how to work for Krishna while living in this world. So that means we will learn how to work in harmony with the nature so that we can elevate our consciousness and we can travel more steps ahead in our path of going back to Godhead. This is the essential teaching. 7 to 12 talks about Bhakti Yoga. So this is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. Yoga means a linking process with the Supreme Lord. And Karma Yoga means linking with the Supreme Lord or establishing our connection with the Supreme Lord by activities, through activities. And Jnana Yoga means establishing the connection with the Supreme Lord through the process of Jnana, knowledge. And Bhakti Yoga, establishing the connection with the Supreme through the process of love, devotional loving service. So, which is nothing but strengthening the connections with the Supreme. So that means you see here, both karma and jnana, they ultimately leads to bhakti. And that's how they are getting perfections. So first 6 chapter will talk about how karma leads to bhakti, and the last 6 chapters will talk about how jnana leads to bhakti. And 7 to 12 chapter, middle 6 chapters talks about the bhakti itself. Lord Krishna spoke this Bhagavad Gita out of his great loving compassion towards the living entities. You see, Bhagavad Gita is part of Mahabharata, which comes in Bhishma Parva. And just before the onset of war, Krishna has spoken Bhagavad Gita. Because in this epic, the most climactic section is the war. Everyone is eagerly waiting. Oh, now what is going to happen? What will happen to Pandavas? Will they be able to get back their kingdom? Or will Kauravas get victory? How Bhishma and Drona will fight with their loving, dear disciples and grandsons. So everybody is eagerly waiting. And just at that moment, he has spoken Bhagavad Gita so that nobody can miss it. So that nobody can miss it. Sankaracharya, in his beautiful compilation of Gita Mahatmya, describes Bhagavad Gita as nectar of river. Sarva Upanishada Gavo Dogdha Gopalanandana Partha Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta Dugdham Gita Amritam Mahat. Gita Amritam. It is compared to nectar. Sarva Upanishada Gavo Dogdha Gopalanandana. If all the Upanishads are compared to the cow, the essence of the cow is milk. So this Bhagavad Gita is the milk, the supreme substance of this Upanishad cow. And Partha, the calf, has drank this milk and perfected his life. The same milk is available for us also to drink and to make our lives perfection. And when war is about to take place, Arjuna is put into denial. It's not that Arjuna was an ignorant person. Arjuna is a Nitya Siddha Parshada, so eternal associate of Supreme Lord Krishna in relationship of friendship, Shakya Rasa. So it is impossible for him to be bewildered. But by using his Yogamaya potency, Krishna puts Arjuna into bewilderment so that he can speak Bhagavad Gita to all of us. So Arjuna is making the inquiry on our behalf. And Krishna is speaking this Bhagavad Gita not for Arjuna, essentially for all of us. Let us have a quick look into the Kuru family dynasty. The war is going to be fought between Pandavas and Kauravas. So who are Pandavas? Who are Kauravas? Let us have a quick overview. Kuru dynasty. In the Kuru dynasty, there was a prominent king called Kuru. He was very famous, and the dynasty was named after him as Kuru dynasty. In this dynasty comes Santanu, and Santanu got married to Ganga, and from him Bhishmadev gets birth. Santanu also married to Satyavati, and from her he begot two sons, Chitrangada and Vichitravirya. Chitrangada died in early age. Vichitravirya got married to Ambika and Ambalika. After death of the Vichitravirya, Queen Satyavati saw that this dynasty is without heir. Hence, he requested Vyasadeva, who was son of her, who is the son of her from Parashara Muni before her marriage to Santanu. She requested Vyasadeva, and Vyasadeva united with Ambika and Ambalika and begot Dhritarashtra and Pandu. Dhritarashtra married to Gandhari and begot 100 children and 100 sons and 1 daughter. And Pandu, on the other hand, married to Kunti and Madri. So from Kunti, he begots Yudhishthir, Bhima and Arjuna, and from Madri, Nakula and Sahadeva. Kunti, before her marriage also, she has one son, that is Karna. And these 5 Pandavas got married to Draupadi, who is the daughter of Drupada kingdom, and daughter of Drupada. She marries to the 5 Pandavas. And the war is being fought between these 5 Pandavas and 100 sons of Dhritarashtra because of family dispute. How Lord Krishna is related to Pandava? Lord Krishna is nephew to Queen Kunti. Queen Kunti is dear loving sister of King Vasudeva, who is father of Lord Krishna. And in other relation, Lord Krishna and Lord Balarama, their loving sister Subhadra got married to Arjuna too. And from them, means Subhadra and Arjuna, they begot Abhimanyu. And Abhimanyu married to Uttara. Uttara is the daughter of Virata. And from Abhimanyu and Uttara, gets birth Parikshit, and Parikshit's son is Janmajaya, and the Mahabharata is spoken by Sage Vyasampayan to Janmajaya. So this is how, it's a quick recap. We have already described this, the division of Bhagavad Gita. Basically, first 6 chapter Karma Yoga, middle 6 chapter Bhakti Yoga, and last 6 chapter Jnana Yoga. Why Bhakti, the most essential part, the essence of essence, is sandwiched in the middle? You see, in any of the book, the first, if you will not store it carefully, the first few pages might deteriorate and last few pages might deteriorate, but the middle section will be kept intact. Several other reasons has been given by our acharyas that karma and jnana, they are dead without the bhakti. So by keeping it middle, karma is associated with the bhakti and jnana is also associated with bhakti. So with bhakti, they give result. Otherwise, so jnana yoga, karma yoga, they give result because of bhakti in it. Otherwise, karma as such and jnana as such, they cannot lead any result. So karma and jnana, they culminate in bhakti. And you see a king's procession, in front you will find a lot of soldiers, and in behind also you will find a lot of soldiers, but the king in palanquin is in the middle. So that shows the importance of the middle section. And generally, we do not disclose any confidential matter unless and until we become intimate, and when the conversation goes into an intense conversation, an intimate conversation. So this conversation between Lord Krishna and Arjuna is taking place. So the foundation is building up, and Krishna is answering the questions of Arjuna, and then out of his affection and compassion, he started speaking about his nature, his characteristics, his mood, his heart in the middle section of the Bhagavad Gita. And Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, 15th verse says, Vedesha sarver ahamabevedya. Vedesha sarver ahamabevedya, that means after reading all the Vedic literature, it is the Krishna to be known. It is the Krishna to be known. So that's the reason this bhakti is the essence of not only Bhagavad Gita, it is the essence of all the Vedic literature. All the Vedic literature. If someone, after reading all the Vedic literature, is not arriving to this conclusion that Krishna is the Supreme Lord and he has to perform loving devotional service towards Krishna to strengthen his relationship, then all his attempt is futile. Srila Prabhupada's comment is basically is based upon all the previous acharyas, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Sripad Ramanujacharya, Srila Siddhar Swami, and Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan, who are prominent acharyas in this Vaishnava Sampradaya. Mostly his commentaries is based upon Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan's commentary. Chapter 1, let's have a quick overview of chapter 1. Chapter 1 consists of 46 verses. it has 5 sections. This begins with Dhritarashtra's inquiry. We will see in a second. And what is the meaning of this first verse? And in the second section, that consists of Duryodhan, who compares the armies from verse 2 to 11. And here we will see the fear and diplomacy of Duryodhan. And then after third section begins with signs of victory from 12 to 19. We will see various signs how Pandavas are going to win the battle. Various signs are given in this section. And the fighters from both the armies are blowing their conch shells. From 20 to 27, we will see the theme of Krishna's Bhakta Vatsal, and Arjuna requested Krishna to take the chariot in the middle so that he can observe the army of the both sides. And after seeing the armies on both sides, Arjuna was overwhelmed with compassion. And in the section 5, Arjuna gives various reasons not to fight from 28 to 46. Today, we'll attempt to finish first 2 sections, Dhritarashtra's inquiry and Duryodhana's fear and diplomacy. Let us begin our discussion. Dhritarashtra uvacha dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yutsava mamakah pandavasyaiva kim akurvata sanjaya. Here, Dhritarashtra is inquiring to Sanjaya. Basically, Bhagavad Gita is a nested conversation. It is happening, the conversation is happening in the battlefield of Kurukshetra between Lord Krishna and his dear disciple and friend Arjuna. The same conversation is getting narrated by Sanjaya to his master Dhritarashtra in the palace of Hastinapur. You might wonder, how come Sanjaya could see or hear the conversation? Basically, Sanjaya was entrusted or was blessed by his spiritual master, Srila Vyasadeva, and he was bestowed divine eyes to see, to experience what is happening in the battlefield so that he can narrate to Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra, being a blind king, he is not participating in the war, but he has shown his extreme eagerness to Vyasadeva to get the news about wars. So that's how Srila Vyasadeva has done this arrangement. Dhritarashtra begins his inquiry to Sanjaya that Dharma Khetre and Kurukshetra, in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is a Dharma Khetra, a place of religious principles, my sons, Mamakaha and Pandavaha, the sons of Pandu, Samaveta, have come together or gathered for what? Yutsavaha, to fight. But Kim Akurbata Sanjaya, oh Sanjaya, what did they do? It might seem a very redundant question, because when he himself is telling that they have assembled here to fight, what they will do? They will fight. But although it appears as a redundant question, but a lot of inherent meanings are there. What is it? Dhritarashtra here is very doubtful about his son's victory, because the Kurukshetra is a Dharma Khetra, and he knows that his sons are not religious. So this place might not help or might not aid his sons to achieve victory. Rather, it might aid Pandavas. So he is doubtful about his son's victory because of influence of Dharmakhetra. At the same time, he is fearful. Why? Because he's thinking, if this Dharmakhetra is very powerful, that might influence on Kaurava side, because virtuous Bhishmadev and Drona and many others are present. Because of the influence of Dharmakhetra and Kauravas might compromise and do not fight this war and give the kingdom to Pandavas. That might happen. So he was extremely fearful about this because he doesn't want that to happen. At the same time, he thinks, if at all this Dharmakhetra influence, let it influence Pandavas, because Pandavas are virtuous. Let it influence Pandavas, let them compromise and let them go to the forest and not fight the war. So he was hopeful about this. Why all these things going in his head? Because he is extremely attached to the kingdom. As his name, Dhritarashtra, Rashtra means kingdom, Dhrita means to hold. He was firmly holding the throne, Hastinapur's throne. His name is Dhritarashtra. He was extremely attached to the kingdom. He was desirous for his kingdom. At any cost, he wants to see his sons in the throne of Hastinapur. So, a lot of learning points here. Dhritarashtra, what we can learn from blind Dhritarashtra, that in the life, something, not everything what we want, we can achieve. Something might not achieve as we want, might not happen as we want. So we have to let it go. We should not be anxiously and very eagerly attached to all our desires. If that kind of mentality will cultivate, okay, whatever happened to Dhritarashtra might also happen to us. If we cannot let it go, it will be snatched. It will be snatched forcefully. This Bhagavad Gita, first chapter, is talking about three blind persons. Dhritarashtra, who is physically blind, and also who is blinded by greed and extreme attachment of the kingdom. And the second blind person is Duryodhana. Although he is physically fit, but he is not able to see, as if he doesn't have eyes. He is blinded by greed and excessive envy towards Pandavas. He is blinded to that degree that he is not able to recognize the Supreme Lord Krishna. When Krishna comes to him as a peace messenger, he treats Krishna as if another normal human being. He is not able to see Krishna because he is blinded by a great degree of envy towards Pandavas. A learning point, envy and greed blinds us. We will not be able to see the things in right perspective. So if you will be too much carried away by greed and envy, the result, what it happens to Duryodhana, that might also happen to us. And Arjuna is the third blind person, although he is perfectly fine, physically okay, and also not blinded by many of these anarthas, no, but he is blinded by material compassion. Asru Purna Kulekshanam. With all his compassion, towards his relatives is overwhelming him. And by this excessive, overwhelming condition, he is not able to distinguish what is the right thing for him to do. And that's how the second chapter will begin. We will discuss more on this while we discuss second chapter. What are the prominent reason of dharma kshetra? Dharma means the root word is dhru, that means to hold. Here Krishna, the upholder of religion, because he is the supreme lord. Dharma tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Dharmang sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Krishna reappear in this material world again and again in every yuga, just to establish the principles of religion. He himself is present in this battlefield. And Prabhupada is giving a very wonderful analogy here. You see, in a paddy field, what farmer does? Farmer takes out the unwanted weeds, which are very similar in looking as the rice plants. But if these weeds will be there, the rice plants will not be able to grow properly. So farmer takes out these weeds from his field. Similarly, Krishna, here is the father of religion, is the farmer who is farming this Kurukshetra, which is not other than a Dharma Kshetra, and he is going to uproot these unwanted weeds like Kauravas, Duryodhana and his party, and nourish the rice plants like the Pandavas. This is the significance of Dharma Kshetra. And here you see Dhritarashtra is addressing his sons as Mamakaha and Pandu's sons are Pandavaha. So diversing, although they both belong to Kuru dynasty, but he is in this, he is showing his partiality towards his son. So this is how we interpret the first verse. Now let us see some essential learning point in the purport. Srila Prabhupada here is mentioning that it is a theistic science. It's a great theistic science, and it is perfect because it is being spoken by the Supreme Lord himself. And one should read Bhagavad Gita scrutinizingly. Okay, and that person is very perfect, this fortunate, if he gets opportunity to read this in association of a devotee of Krishna, without any personal motivation and interpretations. The example of understanding Bhagavad Gita is itself there in the Gita itself, like Arjuna learned Bhagavad Gita. In the similar way, we have to approach Bhagavad Gita. That's how we can understand it better. Now, as we said a few minutes back, that Sarva Upanishado Gavo, So basically, Bhagavad Gita is consisting of all the essential teachings of Vedic wisdom, and also covers many other things which we will not find in any of other scriptures. So that's the essence of essence. It covers everything that all contains in other scriptures, and also contains a lot of things which is not found elsewhere. So kim anyehi shastra vistare. So what is the need of? There is no need of, means Bhagavad Gita is full and complete in itself. This all we have already discussed. The significance of Dharma Kshetra and Kurukshetra. And the analogy also we have discussed. Then In response to the inquiry of Dhritarashtra, Sanjay is replying, "Oh, Dhritarashtra, oh my king, do not be fearful. Do not be fearful." Sanjaya has understood the heart of Dhritarashtra. In consoling him, in consoling the despondent king, to encourage him, he's telling, "Oh no, your son Duryodhan is not compromising. Rather, he is very much engaged in the war, and he is going to consult his spiritual master Duryodhan." Drishtva tu Pandavanikam Vidivang Duryodhanastada Acharyam Upasangamya Raja Vachanam Abravit. Here, Sanjay is addressing Duryodhana as Raja, but Duryodhana is not Raja. Raja, king is Dhritarashtra. But because of his characteristic, he is addressing him as Raja, because although king is supposed to act like a master, but here Duryodhan is going to consult. He is not calling Dronacharya to him. He himself is going to Dronacharya to consult about the warfare tactics. So that's how he is addressed here as Raja. Actually, Duryodhan is fearful. After seeing a huge army of Pandava side, he became fearful. Just to hide his fear, he is going to Dronacharya and engaging in a conversation just to suppress his fear. In the third verse, Duryodhan describes Dronacharya. What he describes? Pasyatang Panduputranam. Oh my dear teacher, Pasyata, behold this. See, the great army is organized by Tabasishyana, your disciple, your great disciple, Tabasishyana Dhimata. Who is that? Drupada Putrena. He is the son of Drupada. Here you see Duryodhan is addressing Drishtadumna, who is the son of Drupada, as Drupada Putrana, as son of Drupada, not taking his name, because he wants to incite anger in Dronacharya. Because Drupada was childhood enemy to Drona. Just by reminding Drupada, he wants to incite anger in the heart of Dronacharya. At the same time, he is also pointing his mistake. Oh, my dear teacher, you see, because of your liberal nature, being a liberal Brahmana, knowing that Drishtadumna's birth is only for the purpose of killing you, but when he approached you to learn the military tactics, you have taught him. And you see the result now. He has organized such a wonderful army to give a strong fight to you. And the same happens to your dear disciples Pandavas. They have learned military tactics from you, and they are so audacious. You see, how can they dare to fight against you? So you please not be too lenient towards the Pandava. Fight with great commitment. Then we can win the battle. So he is, you see the audacity of Duryodhan. Drona is very superior to Duryodhan. He is the teacher. How Duryodhan is addressing him. He is pointing faults in him. He is inciting anger in him, and he is kind of ordering him. So in fourth verse, what happens? Duryodhan further is describing the warriors from Pandava side. Whom did he mention? Atra Shura Maheshwasa, Bhimarjuna Samayudhi, Yudhana, Virata, Drupada, Cha Maharatha. So various warriors he is pointing in opposite army. Then in the fifth verse, few more warriors he is mentioning: Drushtaketu, Shekitana, Kasiraja, Biryavan, Purujit Kunti Bhojascha, Saibyascha, Narapungavaha. So all they are the great in human society, hero in human society. Who are they? Drushtaketu, Chekitana, Kasiraja, Purujit, Kunti Bhoja, and Saibya. So all are Maharatha. Then further in verse 6, he mentioned few more warriors: Yudhamanyu, Shavikranta, Uttamauja, Saviryavan, Saubhadro, Draupadayascha, Sarvayava Maharatha. So all of them. So in verse 4, 5, and 6, he is mentioning lot of warriors from opposite side, from the Pandavas army, who are fighting for the right cause, not for the material gains. Hence, they are very strong. They are Maharathas. And here is a description of from Mahabharata. What does it mean by Maharathas? Maharathas are those who can fight with 60,000 warriors. So Arjuna is Maharatha. And in Kaurav side, Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Ashwatthama. And this war is being fought. In Pandava side, it is 7 Akshayani. And in Kaurava side, there are 11 Akshayani. One Akshayani is, 21,870 chariots, some 21,000 horse, elephants, 65,000 horses, and 109,350 foot soldiers. So big, humongous. So yeah, that's good. Then in 7th verse, just to suppress his fear, he is thinking, I am glorifying the other side, other warriors in the opposite side. So Drona might catch me. Drona might think that, I am very fearful. So just to hide his fear, again, he is telling his dear teacher that no, of course, there are good warriors in the other side, but now you hear from me the warriors from my side. My side is also not less. And he started with Bhavan, means you. Bhavan Vishmascha Karnascha Krupascha Samitinjayaha Ashwasthama Vikarnascha Saumadhatis Tathevacha. He begins with Bhavan, then Bhishma. But we know that Bhishma is the most, the greatest of warrior in the Kaurava side or in among all the armies. But he is now in conversation with Drona. See how diplomatic Duryodhana is. Just to encourage Dronacharya, he's starting with Drona. Bhavan, the greatest warrior from my side is Bhavan, you. Then Bhishma. Then Karna. Karna is not Karna is not in the battlefield now, because first few days Bhishma was the Senapati, commander-in-chief, and Karna has taken about, as long as Bhishma is in the war field, he will not come. But he is in the mind of Duryodhana. Then he is talking of Ashwatthama. Then he is talking of Vikarna. Vikarna is not a great warrior. There are many great warriors than him. He is nowhere comparable to Bhishma, Karna, Krupa, and this Ashwatthama. But why he is taking his name? Because Vikarna is his only brother who has opposed him in the vicious assembly when Duryodhana was trying to disrobe Draupadi. So just to take his just to impress him, just to flatter him, Duryodhan has also taken the name of Vikarna. Then Saumadata is the Bhurisrava, who is the son of Somadata. You see how diplomatic Duryodhan is. And Duryodhan knows perfectly well that when he is beginning the glorification by addressing Drona, Bhishma also will not be unhappy, because Drona is Brahmin after all, and Bhishma is Kshatriya. So when Brahmana is glorified in front of Kshatriya, Kshatriya feels good about it. He will not feel there will not be any hatred feelings. He knew perfectly well. So by his statement, how he is pleasing both the warriors, so very skillfully he is doing. He is very he is a great diplomat. And then in the verse 9, he's telling there are many other warriors like Jayadratha, Salya, Kritavarma, Anyecha Bhavasura, Madartha Tekta Divita. There are many powerful warriors. I cannot even count their names. There are many in my side. So they are ready to lay down their lives. Madartha Tekta Jivita. They are ready to lay down their lives because of their affection towards me. He is glorifying himself. You see, out of their affection towards me, so I am so worthy. They are ready to lay down their life. You see, my dear master. So Srila Prabhupada's comments here that they are already killed by Krishna. Madartha Takta Jivita. Yes, Duryodhan, whatever you are telling is correct. Ultimately, they will lay down their life. Then in verse 10, Duryodhan is comparing both the armies. He is telling, Aparyaptang tadasmakang balam bhisma virakshitam paryaptang tudam etesam balam bhima virakshitam. You see, the other side is being protected by Bhima. Who is he? He is like a fig in comparison to Bhishma. My side, Bhishma virakshitam, is protected by Bhishma Dev. He is a Maharati. So my side is aparyaptang. Is immeasurable, aparyaptang. Whereas the Pandava side is paryaptang, is very limited. So there is no comparison. Duryodhan is glorifying himself. And another meaning is he is talking to Dronacharya just to flatter him more. He's telling, you see, our army is aparyaptang, is insufficient, because it is being protected by Bhismadeva. Although Bhismadeva is a great warrior, but he has weakness towards Pandavas. He is affectionate towards Pandavas. So because of affection, although our army is protected by Bhismadeva, but still it is insufficient. Whereas the other side of the Pandavas is protected by the inferior Bhima, which is not at the same level of Bhishma, but still Pandavas' army looks paryaptang. It looks sufficient, because Bhima is in fury. He is hissing like a snake. He is very committed. And oh my dear Drona, please give up your leniency. Please fight valiantly. Then only we can be able to win. And then in verse, so basically by his dual meaning statements, Duryodhan has pleased both Dronacharya as well as Bhismadev. And Duryodhan thinks that, oh, Dronacharya might take my first meaning. First meaning means, oh, I'm glorifying Bhismadev, aparyaptam. My side is immeasurable. So immediately he said in the 11th verse that Bhismadev might be a great warrior, but after all, he's an old man. So, my dear teacher, Gurudev, Ayaneshu cha sarvesu yatha bhagam avastita bhisma mevavi rakshantu. Please give protection to Bhismadev. Please give protection to Bhismadev. And in this verse, he is also glorifying other warriors. Thinking that, Srila Prabhupada writes, that Duryodhana is thinking, oh, I am glorifying so much Bhismadev, what other warriors will feel? So, he is thinking, Ayaneshu cha sarveshu. Okay, you all be stationed at your strategic position. Yatha bhagam avastita bhisma mevavi rakshantu. Please give your protection to Bhismadev, because Bhismadev might be engaged in one direction fighting with the warriors. He might overlook the other side. So by taking this advantage, the warriors from opposite side might break the phalanx. Hence, you have to be very careful and situated in your strategic position. Make sure that you give protection to Bhismadev. So that's how he is also trying to encourage other warriors. And this is how the second section ends. And from 12 sections, verse 12 onwards, we will see various signs of victory of Pandavas, and that we will discuss in next week. Thank you all very much for your patient participation, enthusiastic hearing. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.